So here we are in the Glenbow. Couldn't be more excited. I want to show you a few things, a few of my favorites here. They're all my favorite. Every one of them has a unique story. There's tragedies, there's pets that have left us now that I photographed, family members, there's births. I photographed families where they hired me to come and do a maternity shoot on their porch, and it ended up being a newborn shoot. So there's a few of those here. I want to show you a few though. I want to talk about just a couple that I really enjoy in and amongst this incredible project. So come on in with me. Right at the very beginning of this project, it started not locally, but all over the city. And the few days that when I began, on the first days, March 21st, 22nd, I ended up going all over the city. When I smartened up, I ended up quadranting my days, so I'd be the Northwest. The Northwest is enormous, by the way. And then I ended up, the Beltline actually felt left out. They were in Southwest, Southeast quadrant, but they left out. So I did a Beltline project, and I ended up doing shots with my extremely long lens. 9 floors up, 12 floors up. This is from the ground below their building, 9 stories straight up with my 400mm telephoto lens, and looking down through the bars during a snowstorm, obviously, because this all started in the winter. And to try and make these incredible moments for them, even on their balconies. Families would ask, do we come to the lobby? Do we come down to the street? And I'd say, heck no, let's make sure that you're in your porch, in your situation, so we can tell your exact story. Because that's really what all this is everybody's individual story. So, Beltline was amazing because there were a lot of tall buildings. Excuse me. I photographed a good friend. What happened here during COVID, of course, people who had other ailments. This is a good friend who's got cancer. He's been dealing with it for years. He had an emergency event and came home and had to isolate because very early on we didn't know much about any of this. And he was isolating from his family. So I took a picture of his wife on his step. They didn't know that he was in the picture, in the reflection. I needed to make sure that they were together still in this photo. When they received the photo, they found this one, realized what I had done, and it overwhelmed them, like it blew them away to be able to connect them that way. These are the type of things I was looking for when I went to all of these porches. How I prepare for these, people would get an email a couple days before the event, and I would ask them to be themselves and give them a little bit of prompting. Say, I'm not going to ask you to smile. I'm not going to ask you to frown. This isn't a jolly, jolly thing. It's not a sad, sad thing. It's not a woe is me. It's whatever you want it to be. You can be silly. You can be happy. You can come out in pajamas. People came in half dressed. They were wearing pajama shorts and suits on top because that's the Zoom thing, right? And they wanted to tell that story. So every photo of these 600 families that I photographed during this project are very unique, and this gallery really shows that. People have commented on that. I am making a book with 383 families in it of the 600, and so there's way more stories. It's their stories as well. Come on with me. Another thing, one thing I'm really excited about is that I was able to co-curate this entire gallery with the Glenbow. The Glenbow was magic to work with. I learned so much about layouts, color planning, just the general kind of building of a gallery like this. I've never been involved in anything like this. The last gallery I hung was at Village Brewery, the tavern. I spent so much time, you guys, on preparing these prints so that they were, well printed, color, composition, all that. But I spent time squaring everything up. This image, come on in and have a look at this, as this works really well. This image of this apartment building, our sculpted family is what they named it. The labels on these images are their labels. I asked the families, what would you like to have on your photo? And so they gave me those. But if you look at that image, it is perfect. It is perfectly symmetrical. It is perfectly in line, level, straight, everything. Because heck, I'm in the Glenbow. Why would I put a crooked picture in here? There was no way that I wanted to do that. That wasn't on purpose, because there's a few that are on purpose that way. This family here, the Camera family portrait, this was one of the newborns that I was supposed to do. This is a second floor apartment. I'm not across the street on this one. They asked me ahead of time, we have this newborn baby, should we come down to the lobby? Like everybody asked when they were in an apartment building. And I said, no, let me work this out for you. And so I got myself a 16-foot painter's pole, a really rigid painter's pole. And I put my camera on the top of it, and I can take pictures through my phone, through my good camera. So this is them, 16 feet off the ground with me with my pole up there like this, taking this beautiful family portrait of theirs, their first newborn baby photo. And I love the look of the dogs still. These are just, the pets are really something in this. So I would make a joke to every family that had a pet. And it was not quite a joke. I would say this portrait initiative that I'm doing, you guys, is just a really elaborate excuse to meet your pets. And so everybody would laugh and loosen up. Inside the buildings, inside the houses, whenever I could, I would have them shoot through the windows. Sometimes reflections in the time of day didn't work out, but we tried to go in their buildings as well. It kind of gave a feeling of that isolation, but yet still connected, still kind of wondering, hoping outside what's going on out there. And it gave that moment too, because we spent a lot of time looking out our windows. There's another one like that here, where I thought, this family is going stir crazy. Come on in, Jenny, if you want. In their house, and I just love the way the reflection of the trees across the street or in their yard there with the sun shining off them gave it a bit of a chaotic feel to it, right? So I kind of played up the family to show a little chaoticness there as well. We had families that tried to learn new skills. Here's one with a guitar player in the upper room and their partner down below with their hands on their ears, not wanting to hear more, I don't think. I do believe the fellow in that picture is a good guitar player, but we play it up a little bit for these. I can go right to the first day of portraits too. This is a pretty magical day because nobody knew anything. We didn't know anything what was going to happen. I was starting this. I had done 2 portraits to get started a couple days before, the day before actually, on the 20th of March. On the 21st of March, I had 20 families booked. And then from then on, it was craziness. So one of the first families I photographed, and this situation is still going on. Samantha and her mom, Eddie, came to Canada. They were in Colombia. This is prior to the COVID situation. They were in Colombia, went to Venezuela, then came to Canada. Her husband couldn't come for some reason, ended up in Argentina, is now trapped in Argentina in their own COVID restrictions without being able to travel. So this was on day 1, March 21st, when we started. And this is Ernesto on the laptop. He was live. We were talking to him live. Again, a second-story apartment down in Eau Claire. And Ernesto is on there talking to me from Argentina. He's still there, you guys. This is the, one of the great tragedies is a separation of family right now. And it's an ongoing theme that, we can't hug our kids or our grandkids, any of that. So it's still happening. Day 1 as well. Earlier in the day, this was the very first photo of the first full day, showing all the snow. This is down in the suburbs in Kenny Meadows. This family actually had a head start on isolation because they had traveled and came back, and before we were all locked down, they had traveled back and were advised to self-isolate. So when we were on day 3, they were on day 9 already. And this was my first day. So the kids were going stir crazy, the parents were sad, just like, this is enough. And just imagine, we are months and months into this now, so these stories are ongoing. That's one of the crazy parts about this whole gallery. This didn't stop it. This isn't the end of the story. It's a continuation of the story. But these early days were so interesting and so unknown that I don't think we could tell the story again. That's one of the most proud things I think about with this gallery and with this project is it tells a story from the beginning. From the beginning, when we were first locked down, when we were first dealing with everything. And this will never be able to tell again. Even if it happens again, we know more, we're going to do things differently. It's just a way that we're going to remember this time. So that's one of the things I'm most proud about. Some really funny things happen along the way too. Some really funny. Some of them were typical, and the families played it up really well. The Rowan family down in Auburn Bay, I believe, 2 weeks ahead, they booked their ticket. Then 2 days before I send my email, I send them an exact time. I got so good at scheduling, I would send these families an exact minute that I was going to show up, and 99% of the time I was there that exact minute. The dad still couldn't get off his conference call. It was just the light, right? They were working from home, it was business, you were on Zoom. And so they made a sign and said, "Dad's in that room." It was just the way it was. I think the comments now, they're in the book, and their comment is, "We were really sad and heartbroken that Dad couldn't be in the photo, but now we're glad because it is a really big part of the story and we're glad to share it." Kids having fun. This is a bit of our humor wall here. We have the COVID Gothic situation. I just showed up at this house and they were ready like that. And that's the American Gothic artist. But we call this COVID-19 Canadian Gothic now. Really, really well done. So some people really, made it great. I have a whole section coming in the book of just everybody's pets. This is the one pet-only photo in the gallery. I love it so much because it looks like me before I got my haircut and then after. It's a kind of a before and after COVID haircut situation that just looks great. They are two different dogs, obviously. There's no trickery there. But it just feels like kind of before and after the barber when we were able to go again. So people were acrobatic. That was a lot of fun for me. At the end of most shoots, toward the end, I'd say, "That's nice, we got this photo. That's nice, we got that photo. What do you do? What's your thing?" Like if you go to, say, Utah on a driving trip and you stand in front of the Utah sign, and most people had that. Most people had a thing they did. And so they would show me that as well. And I'm not sure if this is it with the handstand, but I love it, even their feet, and it's just terrific. One of my favorite funny ones that we had, come on over here, Jenny. I'll show you the photo first. This is Anila. Anila and her partner took up martial arts fairly recently, within the last couple of years. And so while we were doing our normal portraits, in front of the house and putting our arm around each other, I asked them, "What do you do?" I asked that same question, and they said, "Hang on a second." And they came out and they did a really elaborate martial arts routine with these lightsabers. They would, if it was really a proper martial arts exhibition, it would be wood sticks, I think. But they were using these lightsabers, and I said, "Well, how about we do a little fun? You guys seem like really fit. And let's do a kick, a fun, kick." So she's not really kicking him. He's actually just jumping and doing a fun C thing. And so he's the real athlete in this one to be able to get that high and that bent over. But man, what fun. Like we had some really cool moments that way. Other ones later on in the year. So that we started in March. And we went through, March was busy. So, there was a couple hundred families in March alone. That was from the 21st to the end of March. April was about the same amount. And then as we started going back out into the world, I started doing less and less of these. So when we got to July, that was the end of this main project, I had probably 3 days in July that I did, but one of them was a lot of fun. Because we all go camping, this family, I did their portraits, their ordinary one, and then on this really scorching July day, I made them go inside their very, very hot bowler and make this fun photo. This is their porch photo from their camper, and I just love it so much. The lighting is good. We got green grass now, so it's a big change. So going from day one in March with the piles of snow, again telling this story that we've all been through, this connection, this community connection that we can kind of rely on each other, that we know what each other's going through. Just shows, I know July, a bunch of us went camping if we could. But yeah, so people showed their personalities. I got to meet people. I'm probably the only one that missed my family during all of this, because I was out all these days and then working at my computer, so I could have used a few days off. But hardest work I've ever done, most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. And we're here in the Glenbow showing that off, and again, I couldn't be more proud. So I really appreciate everybody for tuning in today. I appreciate everybody who connected with me online during this, saying things like, "This is the bright spot in my day," when you show a few of these photos at the end of a day. This helps me, this gets me through. This shows that I'm not the only one in this situation. And, you know, me and my family, Tracy and Andrew, thank you so much and really appreciate everything that Calgary's given us, including this show. So thank you so much.